Hello and welcome to the Album Man, and it is finally time for CDs and vinyl I bought recently for August 2014. So August was one of the best months of 2014 for me for picking up CDs and vinyl. I went to Eastern Europe on holiday during August to Estonia, Finland, Lithuania and Latvia, and I picked up some really interesting things there, as well as, if you've watched my last couple of CDs of vinyl I bought recently, you'll know I've been going to this second-car boot seller who was selling albums for £1, and I bought quite a lot more interesting and some hard to find stuff from him. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff to show. I think we'll kick off with the LPs. So I'll kick off with some LPs I got from a car boot. Okay, so these three, I may as well show all of these together. So these are three Beatles albums, all on mono. So we have With the Beatles, Please Please Me, and what's the other one? It is, Hard Day's Night, that's it. So yes, now you may be wondering, why do none of these have their album sleeves? That's because simply I put them on my wall because there's freaking Beatles. Beatles are cool to have as sleeves on the wall. So yes, that's why they're loose. I obviously wouldn't buy them without the sleeves. But yeah, having mono Beatles is always pretty cool. I actually discovered my CD versions were mono. So it's like, because the reason I bought them was to have mono Beatles, because that mono remastered box set is so ridiculously expensive. Yeah, they're not the greatest condition ever, but they're playable, and it's quite nice to have mono Beatles on vinyl. So another one I picked up, could not resist, Rush's Hemispheres. I mean, this has the this has Cygnus, or this has Hemispheres even. Yeah, Hemispheres, which is a bloody good song. And Trees, I really like the Trees actually. Yeah, this is definitely just another really strong Rush album. I definitely put it up there with Farewell to Kings and Moving Pictures, without a doubt. Okay, now we get into some of the vinyl I picked up when I was on holiday. So we'll start with the most normal of them, but cool nonetheless. Iron Maiden's Killers. Now weirdly, I didn't own this Iron Maiden album on any format at all. I mean, I loved the first Paul Di'Anno album, the self-titled Iron Maiden album, but I'd never actually listened to Killers, just genuinely never listened to it. I definitely enjoy it as an album. I wouldn't say it's as good as Iron Maiden, it's not one of my absolute favourite Iron Maiden albums, but it's a very enjoyable Di'Anno era Maiden album nonetheless, and it's very cool to have on vinyl, so yeah. So, one of a bit of a gamble that I actually haven't even listened to yet, but I don't know, I think it was worth it. It was only €5 in a record shop in Finland, and this is basically the guitarist from the Finnish metal band Rhapsody. And the reason I really decided to pick this up was just because it was a freaking epic picture disc. I mean, look at this. It has a freaking guy that looks like Jon Snow from Game of Thrones with a dire wolf and a flaming sword. I mean, I was not going to resist something this awesome for €5. Is it going to be any good? I don't know, I'm not a big fan of Rhapsody. Symphonic Finnish power metal, it's hit and miss. But you know what? I still think it was worth it. It's a limited edition, and I just think it's freaking cool to own, quite honestly. I mean, I like power metal. I've always been a power metal fan, so I'm sure I will find something to enjoy on the record. To the slightly odder things, we have, and these were both from Latvia, we have a Soviet copy of Yngwie Malmsteen's trilogy. You don't see too many Soviet copies of this. If you ever look, the titles are in Russian and English, so I thought that was pretty freaking cool. I don't actually, well, I'd never owned this album, I'd never heard an Yngwie Malmsteen album before. I've been listening to it. I was actually originally expected to be instrumental, but I discovered that actually his albums always tend to have singers, and I've heard this is meant to be one of his best, and I was a little disappointed, honestly. It sounded really quite 80s. When was it? Yeah, 86. It sounded very 80s, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know, none of the songs I particularly loved. I like You Don't Remember I'll Never Forget, Fury was a good song, Trilogy Suite as well, but in general, like, it's a decent album, like a 7 out of 10, but I wouldn't call it quite a classic. Now this, a Black Sabbath album I didn't own, and how could I resist a Soviet copy of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath? And as it says on the back, it says this record is released by the first Soviet independent record label, SNC Records, established in 1990. I mean, how cool is that, you know, to have on the first independent Soviet label a copy of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath? I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. It's not something you often come across, and it was so cheap. I mean, I can't tell you how cheap these were. Very, very cheap indeed. So yeah, I definitely thought they were worth it. So they are all the LPs. Time to move on to the CDs, which are over here. Okay, so firstly, I decided to buy Black Keys Brothers. Again, if you wonder where the booklet is, it folds out to a poster. I've decided to put the poster on the wall. I've really been getting to the Black Keys of late. I reviewed 10 Blue quite recently. El Camino is hitting my top 100 list. I adore that album. And Brothers, I thought, well, it was the next logical album to listen to. And I enjoy this album, definitely. I mean, Next Scale, and particularly Tighten Up. Tighten Up was one of my favourite Keys songs, probably number 2 with Golden on the Ceiling being my favourite. But the thing about it is, it's like 15 tracks. I feel it's a bit long. It kind of drags a bit. I don't think this is really their classic album. I definitely think El Camino's superior. You know, 10 Cent Pistols, another great track. Sinister Kid as well, I really like. I don't know, you know, I've listened to this quite a few times, definitely an album I'll put on every once in a while, but it's not one that, like, blows me away in the same way that El Camino did. This is just a solid, sort of garagey blues rock album, and definitely one I would recommend. So, a couple other stuff from my trip to Eastern Europe. We'll go for... This was just a sort of a gamble band in Latvia, Epiri. I hate them, I really do. I don't like this at all. There was like a sort of a, you know, €1 or whatever, €2 section of CDs, and, you know, I thought I'd gamble on one, and it turns out these guys sound a lot like Lamb of God, and I don't like Lamb of God, and yeah, it's not very good. I don't even know where the hell these guys come from, but whatever, that was a bit of a failure in everywhere. I sometimes like just go for random stuff, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that didn't. One, though, kind of random thing that I thought was really, really cool. This band, Minor Modesty, and their album Deadline for Frozen Snail. Now, this is an Estonian metal band, and I was just in a record shop looking, and according to the owner, these are sort of an up-and-coming Estonian metal bands, and, you know, they're becoming quite popular in Estonia. So, hey, I thought I'd pick up their debut album, you know, I mean, because, well, the owner actually played it on the, you know, in the shop for me, so I got to hear it, and it seemed pretty cool. It seemed to have a bit of a stoner vibe to it, so it's like sort of Estonian stoner metal, but it's sung in English, and yeah, it's really cool. I actually haven't listened to it, as you can tell, it's sealed since. I do need to listen to it again, but certainly by what I've heard of it so far, I've enjoyed it, and will listen to it again. It's definitely a decent album. So I couldn't resist when I saw it buying a bit more Sigurás. This is Tak, which I think means thanks in Icelandic. I don't really know, that's actually just a complete guess, based on something else. But yeah, Tak, I can't say I know much about this album. Do I recognise any of the songs here? Oh, Hoppy Polk, I kind of recognise, I think. Yeah, you know, I like Sigurás. I'm sure it would be another good Sigurás album. I often hear people talk about Tak. And then, as I was in Finland, I mean, I just could not resist buying a Nightwish album. I mean, how can you go to Finland and not buy a Nightwish album? I don't know. But I have never actually heard Imaginarium. I'm a casual Nightwish fan. I have Sanctuary Child, and I enjoy that album from time to time. I actually listened to it on the way to Finland, and yeah, it was actually better than I remember it being. So yeah, I could not resist Imaginarium. It's a concept album. I love concepts, sort of symphonic, power metal, overblown, over the top. This is a fun album. I definitely like this. I need to sink in more to see if, you know, how much I really like it. But so far, definitely a good album. And this is a nice edition. It's exactly the same price as the standard edition as well. Okay, so on to the car boot finds. Now, one of the coolest things I picked up was Soulfly's Conquer. Now what's so cool about this? There's a bonus DVD, nothing that rare about this album. Soulfly, I'm not a big Max Cavalera fan. I never really listened to Sepultura that much, and I thought it was probably the weakest element of Killer Be Killed. But it's because of Killer Be Killed, the supergroup, if you don't know, which featured Greg Puciano of Dillinger Escape Plan, Troy Sanders of Mastodon, and the drummer of the Mars Volta. As well as, of course, Max Cavalera. And I really enjoyed the album. I thought it was a strong album, so I decided to just pick this up. And what I noticed when I got it home was it seems to be signed. Like, if you look carefully there. And I had a look on the internet at some of the things he'd signed, and this definitely looks exactly like his signature. Now, is it possible someone could have faked it? Hell yeah. I mean, I picked this up for £1 at a car boot. But it's one of those things, like, if it was, a signed, Paul McCartney or, Robert Plant or something, I'd be very suspicious. But who's going to fake Max Cavalera's signature? Like, is that really that much of a desirable signature to have, Max Cavalera? Like, I don't see people faking it. And this person had just bought a job lot from someone who had been sent promos and things like that, and seemed to be involved in the music industry. That's where I got all of these next ones from. So it's very possible I managed to accidentally pick up for £1 a signed Soulfly album. So that's always cool. Last few months I've been picking up a lot of At The Gates. At The Gates are freaking awesome, and this was an accident, this one. Well, okay, it was an accident. I mean, I deliberately bought it, but my knowledge of At The Gates wasn't as good on what's their studio albums and what's not. And this is a compilation. This kind of sucks, because I basically own the whole discography except for one album. So I don't really need this. Yeah. Not my wisest purchase ever. Behemoth. Satanica, I honestly have not listened to this Behemoth album yet, waiting for winter. I like it to be cold before I listen to it, really start getting to death metal, so I tend to store this in a bit of a backlog until it gets, I don't know, until it just feels right for blackened death metal, I suppose. Okay, this was a very interesting album. Blackfield. I've been meaning to pick up Blackfield's, I think it's just a self-titled debut, for a long time, because it's the collaboration between Stephen Wilson and Aviv Geffen. And I definitely enjoyed this album. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I don't think it's as good as Stephen Wilson's The Raven That Refused to Sing, or as good as Grace for Drowning, or even Porcupine Tree stuff like In Absentia, and what the hell's the other album I know of his? There's another album, but I can't remember what it is. Lightbulb Sun, maybe? Something like that. And I definitely enjoyed this. It was a pleasant listen. Again, could well be a grower. Aviv Geffen's parts, I thought he brought something interesting to the table, but I don't know, I suppose I probably thought it would be better if it was just Stephen Wilson. Then again, it wouldn't be much of a collaboration if it was just him. It would just be another solo album. Couldn't resist, of course, Blackstone Cherry. This is their debut album, Blackstone Cherry. Again, book look forward to a poster, have that on my wall. I love this album. This is one of the best albums. Rain Wizard, Lonely Train, Maybe Someday, are still Hell and High Water, still staples of their live set to this day, some of those songs, because they're just freaking classic. This really is them at the best. I mean, I need to review Magic Mountain. I wasn't overly infused by it. I'd probably say it's their weakest effort to date. If you want to know where to start this band, you sort of like southern rock with a more sort of commercial and catchy edge. Definitely do pick up Between the Devil and Deep Blue Sea. Wonderful album, but also Folklore, Superstition and this album. Recommend all three of them in particular. Not to say I think that their latest album with Magic Mountain was bad. No, it's just I think the other one's a bit superior. Another gamble. This was based on two factors. One, that I kind of heard of the band before, and two, because it's really shiny. And you'll see how shiny it is. I mean, this is shiny. I mean, this is seriously shiny. And it just looks so freaking cool. But I do know Dimmu Borgir. I have heard of them before as a sort of a black metal band, but I've heard they're a bit more commercial than standard black metal bands. And that's pretty much what I got when I listened to this album. I mean, it was like a more commercial black metal, and I kind of like that, because I'm certainly not one of these who likes first wave black metal or Dark Throne or just the brutal or mayhem or just the stuff that sounds like it was recorded on a rotten potato, and watching a documentary about the early black metal scene, it seems it pretty much was recorded on a rotten potato, most of Dark Throne's stuff. But this is more my type of black metal, though, you know, is this a band I'm exactly going to see live? No. Is this a band I'm really going to pick much more up from? Probably not, but it's, you know, decent for what it is. I like experimenting, things like that. Again, only £1, you know, hardly much money lost. Electric Wizard, freaking love Electric Wizard. Don't own any of their stuff until this album, which is just seems to be self-titled. I've been meaning to pick up, oh, that's going to annoy me. There's a particular, I don't know, if you're familiar with the band, you sort of know what their classic album is. Dope Throne, is it Dope Throne? I always get it confused with Sleep's Dope Smoker. Yeah, Dope Throne, I'm pretty sure it's Dope Throne. I really like that album. It's a great sort of stoner, doomy bands, definitely one of my favourites. The stuff's just always kind of expensive, but yeah, very pleased to pick up some of their back catalogue. This, oh, Iron Monkey. Oh, again, I have the poster on my wall, but I kind of wish I could show you the album covers or anything of it in here, because it's, I mean, it is a brutal freaking album cover. I mean, just looking at the poster, part of me wonders why I even have it on my wall, because it is just horrible. I mean, it really is a horrible piece of art, but yeah, it's so brutal, it's just kind of cool. So who are Iron Monkey, if you're wondering, and it's perfectly reasonable to wonder who the hell these guys are. I discovered them through EQP TV, did like a 5 albums to get into extreme metal. I never freaking heard of Iron Monkey, but when I saw this for quicker, I looked it up on Amazon at the time. I can't say I liked it that much when I just listened to, like, I don't know, not much, like a minute of it. It's like, ugh. But I looked it up on Amazon and said, oh, if it's cheap I might get it. It was like a tenner, and it's like, no. But for £1, it's like, oh, hell yeah, I'll give this a go. And I actually really quite like it. The vocals are barely vocal. I mean, the vocals, well, they are harsh. They're harsh. They're brutal sludge. This is a sludge metal album, by the way, and this is one of the most brutal, heavy sludge metal albums I've freaking ever heard. So what about it do I like? As I've said before, I'm more of a clean vocal fan than I am growly or whatever the hell the vocals on here are. The riffs on here I freaking love. I just love the guitar work and just the pummeling, heavy, visceral riffage. Part of me wishes this was an instrumental album almost. This is definitely one I have to be in the mood for. It's not one I put on a nice sunny day, I think a stroll, and you put on Iron Monkey. No, it's sort of a dark, gloomy, you're feeling down, freaking wintry day. Yeah, it's an odd album. Would I recommend it to people? I don't even really know. But if you like your sludge metal, maybe. And sort of a more commercial-ish sludge, or certainly more than bloody Iron Monkey, Mastodon and Leviathan. Oh, to pick up the 2-disc version with the DVD, a freaking Leviathan by Mastodon, one of the albums I've been wanting the most recently, for £1. Hell yes. Concept album based on Moby Dick, and often considered one of their best albums, and it's definitely, again, I've only listened to it once, and no Mastodon album has ever hit me the first time. I always need to listen to Mastodon albums a couple of times. So far, I would say it has the potential to maybe be my 3rd or 4th favourite Mastodon album. I don't think I'm going to like it, well, I'm not going to like it as much as Cat the Sky and Blood Mountain. I'm not sure. It could possibly overtake Blood Mountain. I'll have to see. But I've really been enjoying Once More Around the Sun as well. That's become one of my favourite Mastodon albums. But yeah, songs on here, I love Blood and Thunder, Megalodon, Hearts Alive, Aqua Dementia is probably my favourite on here. It's a very good album. Classic that I had to pick up, Queens of the Stone Age, Songs for the Deaf. I've recently, well not recently, but a long time ago, I have criticised this album in the past, is what I'm trying to say. I've criticised it in the past, I've said this album is one of the most overrated albums of the last decade. That statement was bloody moronic. This instead is actually bloody fantastic. I mean, No One Knows, First It Giveth, God Is on the Radio, another love song, Go With the Flow. God, this is good. I still probably prefer Like Clockwork when it comes to Queens of the Stone Age, but this is the second best. This is a phenomenal album. Really is. Why I didn't like it for so long, I don't know. Someone with a stupidly deep voice. God, this guy has a deep voice. I mean, seriously, this guy has a deep voice. This is Typo Negative's World Coming Down. And this is type of sort of a goth metal type thing, I suppose I call it. I've only listened to a couple of tracks, and so far it sounds promising. Sounds like something I might be able to get into. The song I'm definitely into, Catatonia, and this is Tonight's Decision. This is one of their earliest albums, I think. I haven't actually listened to it yet, I will admit. I believe this is when Jonas Rensk was still doing growls, which will be interesting because I really only know Catatonia from, well, Last Fair Deal Gone Down, which is my favourite, and Dead End Kings, which I really liked, their last album. So it'll be interesting to hear earlier Catatonia and see if that rawer, heavier sound really works for them as well as I think the catchier, more melodic thing does with like Last Fair Deal Gone Down. I still never had Viva Emptiness. I know, I'm an awful Catatonia fan. I may as well put these two albums together. I'm so pleased, God. One band I love getting stuff of is freaking Anathema. And to find two early Anathema albums, damn, I've been wanting to hear both of these albums for so long. And particularly, I'm going to see them on Tuesday, and I'm so excited to see Anathema, one of the bands I wanted to see the absolute most for freaking years, considering Weather Systems is in my top 10 favourite albums of all time. But this is definitely heavier. This is when they were, I mean, this is definitely when they were more of a doom band, honestly, with even some gothic metal type influence. These is when they were a metal band, and I would say Alternative 4 is definitely the best of the two. Silent Eternity is a good album, Alternative 4 is a freaking excellent album. If you want to know what songs to check out, Fragile Dreams. Fragile Dreams. Don't check out the remix, the version they did a few years ago where they added orchestra and stuff. No, this version, Fragile Dreams, and Empty as well. Those two songs are two, honestly, of Anathema's best songs ever. Fantastic. Both of them fantastic albums. It's Anathema. They can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Couple more, I think. I don't think I've shown this one before. It's quite confusing now. Liquid Tension Experiment. This is the members of Dream Theater. Well, it's most of Dream Theater, in a way. It's Mike Portnoy, John Petrucci, Jordan Rudess, though actually before he joins the band, and someone else on bass. This is very proggy. I mean, this has a 29-minute song called 3 Minute Warning. It certainly is not 3 minutes. If you like Dream Theater, you probably kind of like this. This is maybe the more experimental side to them. It's quite interesting. It's not one of their best albums, but it's an interesting Dream Theater side project. Motorhead's Inferno. This is, yeah, one of these sort of later Motorhead albums. This is 2004, but deluxe version. It has the bonus DVD, which is always cool. Definitely one of my favourites of the since the 2000s, I suppose, of Motorhead. Not as good as Wild as Yours, but particularly my favourite song for me has to be Whorehouse Blues. I freaking love that song. That's fantastic. And Life's a Bitch as well. It's a pretty good song. Then I think that's pretty much it. I'm pretty sure that is indeed it. Lullabies to Paradise, I think I've shown that one before though. So yeah, that should be it. This has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching. This has been a long one, but I hope you enjoyed. Yes, comment, rate, subscribe, and long live rock and roll.